So what did you think of the elevator?
I thought it was a very interesting old antique elevator. Good sound in here. Nice warm vibe. Different, different way to play your song for somebody.
How important is it for you, band, other musicians to get now exposure on social media? That's what we are doing. We're elevating the way people discover new music, and we love musicians and we love music. How important is it to you in the boys to get this kind of exposure?
I think it's more important than probably any of us understand to get more and more different varieties of social media exposure from every aspect possible. Every other day, some new, platform comes out or a new trend comes out, and if you don't pay attention to it, you're just gonna get lost in the mix. I think I don't mean everybody should jump on every trend, but you should definitely be aware of what's going on around you if you want to participate.
The music world has changed. There's no question in the last year and whatnot. How do you get exposure?
Well, I think a lot of our exposure still comes from playing live music. We still run into people who don't know our songs at every show. So we're still plugging at it the same old way in some respect, but also, I mean, you do have to be on social media. You have to make clips. You have to put stuff out. I did several little clips on TikTok earlier this year where I just did Disney songs, like my version of Disney songs that I thought were cool while we were on quarantine, and I got obsessed with my old Disney cartoons and started thinking, oh, this song's, I mean, listen to it. It's written great. There's these really killer chords. There's all this drama between notes. Like, if you think about Jiminy Cricket singing When You Wish Upon a Star, for instance, it's one of the ones I did, or I did Scales and Arpeggios from Aristocats. Just because they had drama, they had this thing going on that was like, oh, it catches my ear. It makes me remember. It stuck with my head all these years.
How did you all get together?
So we all met at the same coffee shop in Easttown, like 16 or 17, 18 years ago. Hit or miss. Four of us worked there, and then another one of us hung out there. And later on, we just brought our social circles together.
How have you noticed? I've noticed that the music roots, the music itself, Michigan's starting to get noticed.
I hope so.
Yeah. What is about Michigan? Because I know LA musicians that are moving from LA and they're looking to go into Michigan, Detroit, Traverse City. Just
Sure.
what is it about Michigan?
Well, I mean, there's a massive folk scene, and people may be trying to ride that wave. Who knows? I'm not sure who you're referring to, so I can't really speculate further than to say I know there's a lot of, if you go up north, a lot of folk music going on, a lot of roots revival. If you head down to the east side of the state, there's a lot of, like sometimes rockabilly, sometimes early rock and roll. Some people might call it, country rock or whatever too. But the state's got a lot going on, and there's a massive electronic music scene in Michigan. People don't think about the fact that techno pretty much came from Detroit. People don't think about that at all. Or the hip hop scene in Michigan is also way out of bounds. I mean, there's a ton of artists all over the place doing great stuff. You can go watch jazz music pretty much any night of the week in town if you know where to look.
Growing up in Pontiac, for example, I was a little kid, 4 year old, and the guy was our neighbor down the street. He had a country band, and they played in the garage in Pontiac, and he looked like Porter Wagner. I mean, I look at it. I grew up. I was a hillbilly, and so that rock, that hillbilly rock, Dwight Yoakam might sing about it,
Sure.
being from Bakersfield, but there's something about Pontiac, Michigan, or just that auto industry where people came up from the South and they landed here. And I still think there's some roots here
Well, Johnny Cash wrote that song about it.
Yeah, Cadillac parts and
Just
steal
steal all the parts over the years and build this car.
My dad, he worked at GM, and he literally would steal stuff. And he built a boat. He didn't build a car like Johnny Cash, but he'd put parts in his thermos and walk it out.
Classic.
Where would you like to see you all? Where would you like to see the Bootstrap Boys like in a year? What would be
Ideal for me to be would be to be on tour, opening up for a band slightly or more than slightly bigger than us, opening up for a band that could afford to take us on tour with them.
who would that band be?
I don't know. I don't really know. Off the top of my head, I don't have any idea. I would love to explore those avenues in the next year and find out who that band is, honestly.
Who are you listening to? Who have you downloaded
Who
recently?
am I listening to? I'm loving Mike and the Moon Pies. I'm loving Coulter Wall. I'm loving Jamie Wyatt. I'm waiting to hear what Waylon Payne comes out with again. I think his last album was great. Who else have I really been into lately? Only way a cowboy knows how. What's their name? Flatland Cavalry? I think that's it. They're really good. Digging them lately too.
Every week I look at I've been, I guess, a huge fan of Americana before it was Vogue, and to me there's such longevity there. There's, what's amazing is I don't hear a radio station dedicated to like a Sturgill Simpson or whatever.
Sure.
And what is that balance for you? Are you even listening to country music on the radio these days, or is it all Spotify and what you like?
I listen to Jethro FM here in town locally. I think that's good country music. They do play some local and regional acts that are not signed, that are independent. They also play a really great classic list of country and sometimes not quite country songs or country adjacent, which I think pretty much encompasses Americana.
And I would think radio, Jethro's a great example. They can do whatever they want, and they do. And there's such a need for it because I'm not going to hear Johnny Cash out of traditional country stations.
No, not currently.
And I think it's really important for young people or just people to get refreshed of the roots.
Yeah.
And so many, you gotta know your roots. What injected you when you were little? Who was it that said, I'd like to look into music?
I mean, I'm a long-standing Johnny Cash fanatic. I have an autographed picture of him hanging on my wall next to my guitar collection with a photograph of my dad teaching me guitar chords while I sat on his knee at like 2 years old, tucked into the frame next to it. It's very, very personal because I grew up around a dad who was obsessed with country music, who played country music, and the amount of times I heard, "Don't take your guns to town, son," played acoustically around the house, I couldn't count. And I've been playing Folsom Prison Blues live for 27 years at this point in front of crowds. And I don't want to quit. I think everybody else should quit playing the song so I get more attention for it. I love it.
Your dad, do you still have that guitar and those memories? I mean,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hanging on the wall. It doesn't go out on the road.
When you said your dad was teaching you chords, how old? What year would that have been?
Okay, so he taught me 2 chords when I was around 7 years old, and there was a party going on at the house, some type of social gathering, and I was doing "Know When to Hold 'Em, Know When to Fold 'Em, Know When to Walk Away, Know When to Run," or whatever. Probably just skipping the 3rd chord there, and over and over again, and me and a few other of the younger kids were just singing that same song on repeat like kids would do.
Do you catch yourself maybe having a lot of alcohol and then out of nowhere playing some Kenny Rogers?
Actually, I don't because Kenny Rogers hits some pretty emotional notes for me throughout the year, so I don't really think that I cover any country songs that he did currently. Maybe once in a while I pull out Ruby or something, but pretty rarely. I had to sing some Kenny Rogers at a best friend's funeral, and or actually it was her mother's funeral, but it was for her. I went and sang this song, and it was like, it was so dark and real to the moment. I was like, ooh, Kenny's on that high emotional level now. I got to set him on the side cart. So,
And he does. I mean, you go back to his career and whatnot. Do you have a tendency to write sadder songs or happier songs?
I think that art frequently comes from sad moments or suffering, but I don't think that's always the case. And what I try to do as a artist is express the moment that I'm feeling in the moment that I feel like I need to express it. It's not always sad, but it can be maybe like a 60-40 or a 65-35 leaning towards sad. It's just, that might play into the country music genre too, like Lambier taking a foul, you know? It didn't hurt that bad, but I'm gonna cry about it on film, you know? Or I'm gonna cry about it on the recording.
Do your tattoos have a story, that cardinal?
Sure, yeah. So I started out with this as a reminder of my family and where we come from up north, and it's sort of a family insignia, if you will. And then I added the cardinal to it when my grandma passed in memory of her. It's all stick and poke, and it took about 12 hours. And I'll never get another stick and poke tattoo.
And you got the 7 and 6 of hearts?
Yep, 13, it's my lucky 13.
Okay.
13th wedding anniversary tattoo. Still together.
Well, you can come back to the elevator anytime. How often do you write? Are you writing every day, or?
I don't write every day, but I write a lot. I write every week. I write probably a couple times a week. I'll write something will come to me and I'll put it in my notepad, or I'll go in and I'll work on something that I started. I have a pretty big selection of either ideas or partial songs, or maybe I wrote a chorus or something in my head and I don't know what it's gonna go to yet, but it sounds good on its own. I just have to think about what it's gonna fit better with as far as verses. So
Can you
store it
share
for later?
Can you share something that's in your head, maybe 2 days old, that's just you're starting to give birth to?
Ooh, let's think about that a second. So it's silly, but I've been working on this concept that's like, it's really silly, but it's like, ooh, like that. And it's all onomatopoeia, but that's it. That's what I've been, and it's got that it's a little end round, you know, at the end of a lyric. Maybe you say the whole verse and then it's or whatever, whatever. That's a thought. That's a thing I've been tossing back and forth in my head. I have it actually spelled out onomatopoeia style in my notepad because it's been really racking me. What's the best way to lay it out? But
When you get that done, will you promise to come and do that here at the elevator?
Sure. It should be pretty doo-woppy, I think.
Well, good luck, and thank you for coming in, and all you guys, and thank you very much.
Thank you for being such a generous host.